So guys, sitting here with Matt Fraser, Tia-Clair, Toomey, a couple championships between the two of you guys across a bunch of different types of seasons that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
This year, I think, is probably the newest / differentest version of the CrossFit Games season that we've had. I'm curious, what your change of plans was once the season's changed, and then whether you've reevaluated that now that we've gone through one version of the sanctionals format and now we're into the second year.
Yeah. Well, I know for me especially, getting the Open out of the way and done before 2020 year started, that was a lot of fun, and I think it kind of also allowed us to really just focus on prepping for sanction events that we planned on doing, and then setting ourselves up for the games at the end of July and the start of August. So I actually liked having the Open in October, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, this year compared to last, it's totally different because last year it was, all right, what does this mean that we have to go to sanctionals? How many are there going to be? Where are they going to be? How are they going to program? Like all this stuff. And then there was even sanctionals before the Open. So, it was hectic in the first little bit. So I remember when they announced that there's sanctionals and all this stuff, it's like I got prepped. I went to the first sanctional because I didn't know it was like is your first score of the games going to be your placing at a sanctional? Or do you earn points from the Open? And how, if you hit 5 sanctionals, do you get bonus points going to I didn't know what it was. So I just wanted to prepare for the absolute worst case scenario. Another thing was we didn't know how they would rank top 20 out of the Open, national champion, and sanctionals. So I was like, all right, well, if we don't know, I want to be as prepared as possible, and I'll just win all 3. And so I did that.
Because we didn't even know what it was this time last year, did we?
Yeah.
We were still unsure if you could qualify through the Open and
so then this year, once it was determined all right, everything's the same as last year. It's my approach into the Open was way different. I started training maybe a week before the Open.
Yeah.
And even that was that's day 1 into the gym. So it's back squatting 135, rowing a 1K to 150 pace, super JV stuff.
Moving the body.
Yeah. And then it was just knowing all right, during the 5 weeks of the Open, I just need to get myself into the top 20. That's it. That's the only requirement. And then, actually structuring out the year. Because last year, our on season was 16 months of staying at that peak performance level. So this year it was kick your feet up after the games. You go into a valley and the Open comes and it's you come up a little bit just enough to qualify, and then you go back down. And so now with we had our sanctionals picked out and it's getting ready to go. But with the constant reminder of all right, we're both already qualified. In the grand scheme of things, sanctionals don't matter. We're going to learn something about ourselves, to get a tune up, and give us something to train for. But I know my goal is for the majority of the year is just base building, getting that big foundation put down, getting ready for the games. That's the main priority.
Yeah. So
this year in the Open, this year's Open was rough.
Yeah. So much travel, and we deliberately tried to go travel a little bit. I know Matt went to Miami for 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah, I think I did all but 1 Open workouts by myself.
Yeah.
I think. So just that alone is rough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wasn't a fan of me by going to Australia. I get these messages you're never traveling again.
Don't come back. If you're leaving, don't come back. So speaking of the idea of using the sanctionals as an opportunity to just kind of check in, try some new things out, maybe try a different strategy, make a mistake, or learn a new way of doing things. Tia, you just won the Mayhem Classic. That was this past weekend here in Cookeville. How was that approach leading into it? Like, were you trying to peek into this event, or were you just kind of going to train it and treat it as like a practice competition? That since it's really, I mean, we still have 7 months before the games start, right? So
yeah, we definitely don't want to be at peak performance right now. If I was, I'd be worried, just because August is when I need to be ready. So going into Mayhem, I wanted to be fit, but I also it was more so me blowing out the cobwebs essentially, and trying to make sure that I'm starting the season off, I'm competing and getting outside my comfort zone, in the sense of hey, I've got people breathing down my neck, I'm gonna have to push a little harder than what I want to, and obviously I get to train with Matt on a daily basis, but when you're competing, there's just so many different factors. And what was great about Mayhem was I had a 7-minute drive from my home, and I could go to bed, sleep in my own bed through competition, which has never happened before for me. So that was a bonus, and it was kind of a bit of a no-brainer for me to go and do that. And I did look at this competition. I was competing against such incredible athletes, but I felt like it was just a really great way of being like, all right, yep, I'm getting ready for the season. I'm able to push myself. The workouts were challenging. I know that, if you had a look at the time caps, they were somewhat aggressive for a lot of the athletes. And I thought that was, great. I guess making sure that the standards were constantly rising each year. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. Shane's mum and brother came over to spectate, and that's a first for us as well. So that was really nice having family over, and I enjoyed it.
I got a chance to actually meet Shane's mom.
Oh.
She's so cute. She's
yeah.
This tiny little lady. She's so cute. She's so excited to watch you guys work. It was really fun.
She's very passionate. Yeah, I love it.
Matt, so you didn't compete this past weekend, but in a week and a half or so, you have strength and depth, right?
So I'm leaving tomorrow to head over to London. It worked out well. I had a sponsorship appearance in London, and then it's like I was already over there the week prior, so I was like, I'll just stay extended a week. I'm already over there, and I remember watching Strength and Depth last year and just being like, okay. They put on a good, clean competition. There's some that's like, they're just trying
to murder the athletes.
Like they take pride in like, we have 15 events in 3 days, and like 8 of them have a heavy barbell. Like, and it's just like, all right, like you're not the games. What are you doing? But they put on a very like regional-esque competition, good programming, where it's like, if you're fit, you'll do well. Mm-hmm. There's no curveballs. And from the workouts they've released so far, it's like, okay, like this is just what we'd expect from a CrossFit competition. Head out tomorrow, and I haven't seen a complete start list yet, but I've heard of a couple names that are over there, and it's like, okay, like,
he's ready to party.
Yeah. Let's go.
So I'm curious about the training relationship you guys have. This strange partnership. I think it's not something that a lot of people would probably have predicted or guessed would happen. I mean, you guys have been competing at the games around the same number of years at this point, and yet you both live here in Cookeville. You train together almost daily, if not daily. Mm-hmm. Shane provides the majority of the programming you guys go through. How did that even begin? Like, what was the start of you guys thinking, all right, let's put this together, let's see what happens?
So she had moved to Cookeville while I was still in Vermont for the summer. And this is like right after all the changes happened, and we found out Dubai was the first sanctional, and I was like, all right, I'm going to Dubai. And what was it? It was before Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, it was before Thanksgiving.
And I'm trying to like.
It was October.
I'm just like working on my barn, and like I'm living the good life, and I'm starting to get back into training because I know I'm going to Dubai, and it was just like it was not happening, and like the extent of our relationship is like when she's walking off the floor and I'm walking onto the floor, it's like, hey, good job. Hey, good luck.
Yeah.
That's it. And so I tracked down her phone number and I said, hey, like, this is Matt. Like, you guys live in Cookville now? And she was like, yep. I was like, if I come home, will you train with me? She was like, yes, please come back. So that night, Sam and I packed the truck and drove 17 hours the next day, got back here, and we both just left it as like, each day when we get to the gym, we'll each like write down our training. If there's something on Tia's whiteboard that I want to hit, I'll jump in. If there's something on mine, she can jump in on mine. And then like, we're like, I'm sure some days it'll be where like we'll do all of one person's, and then other days where we'll just keep each other company in the gym. But like, if we don't want to train together, totally fine. Or if we don't want to do each other's programming, totally fine. And then I just found myself more and more seeing what Shane was doing, liking it, and just more and more I was doing of his. Before I knew it, I was only doing his stuff. And then I think at one point he kind of asked, like, is there anything that you want me to start programming more of, like certain movements or time domains, all this stuff? And so, started to actually have an input on it. And then I think pretty quickly.
I think it was literally like 4 days or a week. And it was like, I'm good with that. Okay. And I just keep writing, because like I would write it up on a whiteboard so we could all see it. And Matt's like, yep, good.
Yeah, and I think it was probably like a couple months.
Yeah.
And then Shane and I started having discussions of me being like, hey, I feel like this is a weakness, or I want to start getting better at this. I saw this at another competition and started practicing it, stuff like that. And then pretty quickly it turned into just every morning, hey, meet at Mayhem this time, let's do this, that. Yeah, so it just kind of happened organically. There's no expectations on either side of things, and it just, the biggest thing is the three of, like, we spend most of our waking hours, the three of us, and then we're just at the gym. So it's like, when you spend that much time with someone, you want to make sure your personalities all get along, and so it's, we just get to hang out every day.
Shane and Matt get along real well. Let's just say that. No, it's very unique.
There's always the one, right?
Yeah. I'm the ugly duckling. Yeah.
It's interesting that you guys, it started off as like, we just need some company.
Right.
The training, it sucks. Being alone makes it suck 1,000 times more. At least having someone else in the room, working out at the same time, gives me someone to talk to and commiserate with. And I think I may have asked you about this at some point, but it's interesting to me that both of you ended up coming together as opposed to literally any other combination, because there's no shortage of athletes coming to and from Cookville, and there's no shortage of people to train with and compete with and have, the sort of that type of camaraderie with. And yet the two of you, in a way, like, who else can relate to what you guys are doing in the sport versus what everybody else is doing in the sport, other than the other champion who's like consistently getting back-to-backs, right? So I found that really interesting that it's almost like not accidental. It's like a cosmic accident, right? Bringing you guys together. But do you think that there's been a big jump in each of your abilities or like your fitness level, I guess, because you guys have so much more in common in terms of where you're at in the sport with who you're training with?
I think for me, as soon as Matt and I started training, it started not necessarily becoming easy, because it's not easy. It's hard work, and we're constantly pushing ourselves. But it was more enjoyable to be with someone that understood what I was going through. And I know I'm in one of the best positions. My husband is very supportive, to the point where he's given up his life to actually help me achieve my goals. But then, like, he wouldn't understand how I'm actually feeling deep down inside, and like the pressure. Whereas Matt feels the exact same as me, and it's very comforting having someone that's right there day in, day out with me, going through the exact same issues or, you know, just emotions, I guess. And that's something that has been really good to have, because, you know, we welcome heaps of people to come and train, but they just don't get it, you know. Like, they might like laugh and carry on, but for us, this is our job, this is our livelihood. And, you know, when we want to go out and achieve something, like, we're gonna go out and achieve it. So having someone like Matt that understands that is amazing, and it's game changer.
Summed it up pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine, you know, if there's a lot of pitfalls with training alone. There's always, of course, pros and cons to everything.
Yeah.
But like, I can imagine one of the hardest parts of training alone at this level would be if you have a bad day in the gym, there isn't anything that can bring you out of that other than the next day in the gym or whenever the next good day in the gym is, right? Whereas like, you guys probably don't align on bad days in the gym all the time. So if one of you has a bad day in the gym, you'd be like,
yeah,
cool.
I'm just the punching bag.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I talk a lot of shit, so it's a lot of laughs more than anything.
Well, he talks a lot of shit too, so you guys go back and forth.
Yeah.
I guess you also got.
I mean, you want to know like our benefits of training together. Like, we trained together going into those last games. Tia won by record margin of victory, and I won by the smallest margin of victory I've ever had. So you can see how our training has helped each other.
However, may I note, no one has ever had the biggest penalty that Matt has just come back from. So, yeah. Had he never had a penalty like that...
Yeah, if I just had a pocket of zip ties, I would be good to go.
We would never be in that situation.
It's like, do you watch that video, that Instagram video, and think to yourself like, come on, really?
Like, why did I not see that?
Well, I mean, like, with that, it was like, I got some messages after that, or after the games, and people were like, dude, congratulations. Like, after the amount of insults and shit people gave you from that video clip, like, and you didn't let it phase you, like, you were the most hated man. I was like, I turned off Instagram for the day.
You're like, I'm sorry, what? I was hated?
Yeah.
Well, and like
what?
that was the thing. It was like after I heard that, and then someone told me a video got posted where like you see the bag dropping out. I was just like, well, I'm not looking at the internet for a week. Like, I'm just going to pretend like that didn't happen and just like move on. And then it was like after the game when people were like, dude, after all the shit people said about you online, I'm like, funny, not one person said that to my face.
Yeah.
So life wasn't that bad. But yeah, like, there's definitely moments during that I was like, I swear to God, if I lose by anything like by 35 points, I'm gonna freak out.
Look, I'm burning this place down.
Let's just say 2020 Matt Fraser is gonna be like a whole tornado.
Every time the bag comes off, I'm gonna like snip a zip tie, put a new zip tie on.
Like, and with a new strategy, Matt Fraser has his own
toolkit.
He has a satchel of tools with him for any scenario. Like, his barbell sleeve fell off, and he's repairing it.
Yeah.
You know you're doing something right when someone's saying mean stuff about you.
Well, so something like, a quote that I heard about that was like, be flattered when someone's talking shit about you, because if they talked about their own life, no one would fucking care. So I heard that and I was like, all right. And that was 50 Cent.
I'm on top of the world.
I was like, all right, Fitty, I'll take it.
That was your boy Curtis. Okay.
Yeah.
Yo.
But then it was O'Keefe was telling someone the other day of when I trained with Bergeron, he would intentionally fuck with us. Like, he would try to mess me up. So like, he would give me a workout, and like, so if the workout was 3 rounds, and it was like each round is like 8 minutes type thing, and it's like 1 minute rest in between, you finish the third, and he's like, all right guys, get ready for your last round. And you'd be like, no, we already did 3. And he's like, nope, you did 2, 3, 2, 1, go. And he would say, he's like, what are you going to do if your judge miscounts? Like, you going to stop and argue? Like, how many times has that ever helped? And he was giving an example of like one time Bergeron gave me a workout. Bergeron used to make it his life goal to break me in training. Just
What was that
mentally.
word that he would say? Fortitude? No.
No, doesn't matter. Anyway, adversity. But so like he would give me a workout, and the one workout, I know Keith was talking about this the other day, and it was like deadlifts and overhead squats on an axle bar, and it was like each set had to be unbroken. And so I'm full-fledged in this workout, dying, and Bergeron's sitting behind me with a big rubber band, like snapping it at me, hitting me, like trying to get me to drop it, trying to like mess with me. He's like, "What are you going to do on the competition field if a bee comes up and stings you? Like, are you going to break up your set? Like now you have to start over, or do you just deal with it? There's nothing like dropping the bar isn't going to unsting you, like all these things."
You wouldn't want to be allergic. You're like, call the hospital, call the ambulance.
So I mean, it's the type of thing where it's like for so long, like in training, it was like, nope, something bad happens, keep moving, and now that's my mentality of like something goes wrong and I just keep going, and you know it's kind of bit me in the ass a couple times of like, oh, I should have taken an extra second. I mean, should I have taken an extra second? Like, say a bag didn't fall out of my backpack and I thought it did, and I stopped and like scoured the earth and 4 people ran by me, the commentators would be saying something totally different of like, you can't stop and question yourself. You have to just go. You need to go no matter what. It's like, it just depends on the scenario.
Yeah.
Like they'll commentate and say whatever they want to get the commentary they want, but
Yeah, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
exactly.
Right?
That was the exact situation. So, you know, that one I was kind of on the wrong side of it, and
it made for an exciting 2020 or 2019 games. That's for sure.
Well, I honestly personally think that what Matt was able to do is, okay, yep, he, you know, it made a mistake on the competition floor. That happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But what people are forgetting is like Matt got penalized like severely, and like he dropped on the leaderboard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I don't think anyone has ever made a comeback like that. So like, let's not worry about the mistake. Let's have a look at like the incredible comeback that he made.
Silver lining, like making lemonade out of lemons. Like going into this year's training, I heard so many people talking about like, oh, Matt's not good under pressure. Like he gets comfortable when he has a huge lead, and then that's when he starts.
You can
performing.
say it's Patrick. It was Vellner.
Yeah. no, but there were multiple. There were a lot of. I heard it from a couple different places, and like I'm sitting there listening to it. I'm like, you dumb motherfuckers! Just because I've never been under pressure doesn't mean I'm not good at it. Like, why don't you be better and put me under pressure? You know, like it's not my fault. Just because you've never seen me do it doesn't mean I'm not capable of it.
Yeah.
And so that was a situation. I was literally sitting in the athlete area before a workout, and I was like, okay, good. Let's
let me show you how good I can be under
now
pressure.
I'm under pressure. Let's put it to the test and just start cranking for the fences. Like nothing but home run hits from now on. And it was, in a way, it was freeing going out on the competition floor, because like you do a lot of life thinking of like, what's my life? It's a real possibility of not winning. You only have 2 options when you sign up for a competition. Either you're going to win or you lose. Odds are it's the other, you know?
Right.
And so going into the competition, or like at that stage, it's like, okay, nothing in my life is going to change if I don't win. You know, like I have beautiful wife, beautiful house, love my friends and family, like I'm financially set, like I don't need anything. My life is amazing. But then it's like, all right, like I have nothing to lose. So let's just see what I'm capable of and just start cranking these events. Like, let's go recklessly and let's see what the fuck happens.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it took the entire weekend for you to get back on top. It was basically Sunday afternoon before we were back in the...
Like the last 2 events.
Yeah.
Well, like, you look at the scores from the event. So, like, the one with the pegboard, double under, dumbbell. I mean, like, fact check me on this, but I'm pretty sure it was a full minute.
Mm-hmm.
It was, like, either a couple seconds under, a couple seconds over.
It was about a minute, yeah.
But a full fucking minute on that workout before second place came across the line. If there was the full field, like there would have been 5, 6 guys within a minute. And so with that, it's like I beat him by a full minute and no one came in between us. It's like, how do you collect points when there's no one to middle you? And so with that, I think it was after we had 5 events left and I was down by 55 points. And someone told me, they're like, you can win every event and not win the games. Like if there's 5 more events, you can win every single one. If Noah gets second on every single one, you lose. And so it's just kind of like, okay, so it's out of my control. I have no control over where Noah places. The only thing I can control is trying to win every event. And then after that, it's out of my hands. So like you hope at the end of the competition, if I lost by 5 points, but I just won 5 events in a row, I hope I'm going to be able to sleep well that night.
Right.
Of like, I did everything I could, you know? It was out of my hands. But to make that scenario possible, it's like the only thing I can control is my placement, my effort, all that stuff. And so it's just going out there swinging for the fences, and yeah, it got kind of fucking crazy. my favorite one was the burpees and overhead squat. I was just like, I'm gonna full send. Like, I don't care how much this hurts. Like, it's 3 minutes or 4 minutes, however long it was. I'm like, you can hold your breath and do anything for 4 minutes.
Right.
So it's just like,
you're like, I'm not even gonna start sweating until this workout's over. So let's do this.
but literally, like, I remember thinking of like, by the time you get to the point in the workout where it's hurting, so you're in like the round of 10, and you're like, all right, I'm already in the single digits left in this set, and then it's only a set of 5. And I was like, my life resume is going to be different after this. Like, the fuck are you holding back for? Like, who cares how much you're hurting? Hurt later, doesn't matter. Go.
I'm curious, thinking like because I have, as a very average fitnesser, I have similar thoughts. It's like math plays a really big part in CrossFit.
Always crunching numbers.
You're always thinking, okay, the next set, it's like, I only have, I already did 5 times that amount of work.
Yeah.
I'll be fine. I can grit through this.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear that type of like gaming in your head is going on at the same time while you guys are competing at that level. But you're talking about your resume. Each of you have done really impressive things in the sport, right? To the point where it's almost like, you can't really even compare it across anybody else's career. So I'm curious how different formats, you've won. Different competitions, you've won. Regionals, no regionals, you've won. Games with different adversities, you've won.
Different venues,
different
formats,
different places,
cuts,
different people you're competing against.
different scoring systems.
Absolutely. It's like
my first year at regionals was the ordinal scoring system.
Right.
Whatever your place was how many points you got. Like, that was my first regionals. My first regionals was regular regionals. It wasn't super regionals.
Right.
It was outdoors. Dude, I think about the shit that went on at my first and second regionals. Do you remember it was like 3 minutes of max handstand walk?
Mm-hmm.
The floor was 120 degrees. Like, they required people to wear gloves.
Was that in 2014?
Yes.
First year you made it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they required people to wear gloves. And I remember this kid out of the Northeast, Nick Del Grande. Dude, his gloves melted to his hands. His entire palm was blistered.
Ooh.
Like, he came back in and his gloves were melted.
That's
and
awful.
And they're just like, well, that sucks. Like, the rest of your weekend is going to be a total bummer. And
And because it was max snatch after too.
Yeah.
yeah.
That was like the
no, it's a
I think
snatch and
right
then
before it.
handstand
Yeah, it was
walk.
right before it.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
But like, I remember just seeing him warming up, and then after competing, and he just like he wasn't like crying, but like
Right.
just coming up and just like tears rolling down, and he was just in so much pain.
No.
Oh.
Like, it was off on that. Like, but I remember competing at regular regionals with the ordinal scoring system, and then it was super regionals, and they put the game scoring system at regionals, and then like I switched regionals, and then sanctionals, and it's like, man, I would love some consistency in our lives.
Sure.
And then like go to the games, and like we've hit both venues now of Carson and Madison. We've done it with the cuts.
Not to
without
mention the
cuts.
events at the ranch, because
Oh, yeah.
the 2016 had the
Yep.
ranch events. So I guess the question there is, you've had unprecedented success across 1,000 different variations. When you wake up in the morning and you're like looking at an 11-piece training day, what is it that, other than, you know, obviously it's your job, but what is it that makes you look at that and be like, okay, another day. Let's grind through it. Let's make another gallon of sweat today.
That's a really good question, because, you know, I feel like in some capacity every day we go through that. But it's because I want to do it.
Give them your real answer, not the answer they want to hear.
Shut up. But I do genuinely want to do it. And
No, the camera's off. The camera's
Yeah, the camera's on. Yeah, you talk like yourself.
Oh, okay. I'll be real now. But, you know, I don't get up excited to train on a daily basis. I don't live to train. Training has been a part of my life since I could remember. It was before CrossFit, with my running, with, you know, my past sports that I did. And I just feel like a training is part of my daily routine. But I do it for competing. And so the adrenaline and the excitement and the emotions that I receive when I'm out on that competition floor and I'm able to just show off in front of the crowd.
Yeah, this one. Ah!
Yeah, you know, like it's those moments that I'm like, all right, in order to do that, in order to do what I truly love, I have to do this. And I want to win. So in order to win, I need to do these 11 parts, because that's what's going to make me better, make me stronger, fitter, and that's what's going to make me feel confident in my ability. It's going to make me feel ready for whatever is going to be thrown at us. And, you know, I'm going to be prepared. And, you know, I trust the process so much. I trust Shane, I trust Matt as my training partner. And, you know, having that trust is absolutely key to being successful in achieving my goals. And, you know, I know that, hey, if I do this with these people, I'll be good and I'll be ready when the time comes. And so it's just a part of the process.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everything that, like I've said it for years, of like, if I want that moment in front of the crowd, I need to have a lot of time grinding those shitty hours, even when you don't want to. Like, for me, for a long time, it was like in my basement when I'm by myself, just rowing, squatting, doing all that, doing the unsexy stuff. I know a big thing we talk about all the time is like, what is the story I want to tell my grandkids, you know? Like that I participated in a sport for a couple years and like, yeah, I had some fun, you know, but like, I know for Tia and I both, we're both living lives that we never saw coming. You know, we get to work out for a living. And I know if I didn't give everything I have, I'm going to regret it when I'm 50 years old and thinking like, you know, what if I put in those extra hours? What if I did that extra body work? What if I got full night's sleep or my diet was better? I want to ride this thing till the wheels fall off and have no doubts in my mind, so that the day I walk away from it, there's no what if, you know? The day I walk away from the sport, like I want to be happy with what I did, you know, like, and I had a perfect example with weightlifting of like, I left and just like, man, I didn't do that right. You know, like I hit bigger numbers in lifts after leaving weightlifting, like once I started CrossFit, and it's like, man, all right, I clearly wasn't doing something right back then. Mm-hmm. And I was just a college kid, I didn't know any better. But you know, learn from the mistake. Like I'm going into the 2015 games, or like after the 15 games, it was like, oh, okay, like I know why I didn't get the results I wanted, because I cut corners all year. So I'm going to do it differently this time. And you know, you just put in the work, you see the results, and you feel better about yourself. Like, to me, there's no better feeling than a hard day's work. Like, on a rest day, or like if I take a week off after a competition and I sit down and watch Netflix, I feel like a fucking loser. I'm like, I'm wasting potential, I'm wasting my life, I'm not progressing, I hate everything about this. if I bust my ass all day long and I get like an hour before bed to kick your feet up, there's no better feeling. It's like I don't need anything right now. Just the enjoyment of kicking my feet up and being proud of the last 12 hours is the best feeling for me. So just try to do that on a daily basis. And right now, the thing that I'm working hard on, dedicating myself towards, is competing.
Speaking of all those hard hours in the gym, I'm curious if off the top of your head you guys can think of the most savage, worst workouts you guys have put yourselves through.
So I was talking about this the other day. I know the one I did, it was 20-minute EMOM, 24 calorie assault bike 1 minute, and 17 or 18 GHDs the next minute. So 10.
Oh.
So 10.
Is this the
10
one
of
just
each.
recently? Or?
No, I did it. Would have been like a year or two ago.
Oh.
So 180
Totally on
GHD sit-ups and-
different paths.
Oh no, the GHDs was like your recovery. That was so easy.
But each minute, the other...
So to hit 24 calories in a minute on the assault bike, you need to hold, I think it's like 650 for the entire minute. And yeah, that one, I don't know if it was probably a combination of it's a tough workout and it was super early in the season, so I wasn't like in prime shape. I'm sure the workout would still take its licks on me now, but I know then that was like, I was spinning like when I was walking out of the gym. And the reason I did it was I told Dre from Mayhem, so he's like the best at GHDs in the world, and he's pretty good on an assault bike. And I told him the workout, and he was like, "Oh, I'll do it this afternoon." I was like, "Oh, I'm going to do it tonight." And when I got there, he told me he did it, and I was like, "All right, cool. Like you did 24 and 18." And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "It was rough." I was like, "All right, cool." And so I do it, and the only reason I finished it was because I'm like, Dre did this, Dre did it. And then I'm like walking out of the gym to go like just lay in the parking lot, and I'm like,
"Please run me over, anybody, please end this."
I'm like stumbling out of the gym, I'm drooling, like I'm a hot mess. And Dre was in the doorway as I'm going outside, and he was like, "Did you do it?" I was like, "Uh-huh." And he's like, "With 24 and 18? I was like, "Yeah. You did it, right?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then I just walked outside, and then like 2 weeks later I find out, I think it was O'Keefe, told Dre, was like, "Just tell him you did it. Like,
Yeah.
If you say you did it, then he'll do it." And so Dre never did it. He just like did the old bait and switch.
Savage.
And yeah, so like I just remember the look on his face. I was like, "Wait, you did it, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, totally." And I was like,
Like something
I don't
doesn't add
know.
up.
Yeah.
Am I just punch drunk right now,
Yeah.
or are you lying to me?
Yeah, what other like grueling ones have we done?
I can't remember specifically what the movements were or the workouts specifically, but I remember it was leading into the games last year, and that's when we were up in Vermont living with Matt and Sammy. And Matt and I, it was like a workout where it was like, okay, you do 3 rounds, have like 3 minutes rest, 3 rounds, 3 minutes rest, and 3 rounds. And you know, those movements all changed up. But I remember, I think I was on all fours after like our second lot of 3 rounds, and I'm looking at Matt and I'm like dripping. And I'm not much of a sweater, so when I'm sweating, you know it's hot. And I'm looking at Matt and like, I don't want to bring him down by saying, "Well, this is hard." But I'm seeing on his face like he's hurting just as much as I am, and we're like kind of giving the sympathy look at each other. I don't know if you remember this, but it was like it was so hot, and because like we were in that confined area, and like the workout, like we looked at Shane when we were writing it up and was like, "You want us to do this?" Like, this is unheard of. And I think it was just a combination of the heat, the movements, how fast, because it's only 3 rounds. So like, and we're training for the games. So it's like in the point where we're pushing really hard.
Yeah,
like
your feelings don't matter.
Yeah.
Like, you can hurt later.
Yeah.
Go.
Training now, like you could walk in, watch us training, and we're pushing and it's hurting, but it's so different to when we're training for the games. Like you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and hey, like what I do now is going to count for the games. So you want to push even harder because that's your actual goal. And that was death. I actually think about that often.
I think I've had a couple on the spin bike where like it was like 4 rounds of 10 minutes each, hold like this wattage.
Whoa.
Right.
And it's like
just straight power output.
Yeah.
Threshold
And then it's like
output,
a 2-minute rest in between.
Oh, that running it, like the
Yeah. So we did the one. It was like 10-minute bike holding this minimum wattage.
Right.
Into a 1K run.
Like we have to change shoes into the run.
Rest 2 minutes and then do it 4 times over. And I remember that one.
That was bad.
Like, so it's hilarious when like Tia's not holding her water, and like I'm the first one to be like, Shane, she's not holding her wattage.
Dead set. And I'm like, and then Shane's like, Tia, this is unacceptable. I'm like, shut up, Shane! Shut up,
Those are
man!
not the words she uses. You see the true Tia come out.
I was there for that one.
Sammy's like, thought they were getting a divorce.
But yeah, like that it's like on your second interval, 2 minutes in, you're in full pain mode. And you're just like screaming at the monitor, trying to get yourself amped up, and you're like, "Oh my god, I have 28 more minutes." Fuck. Yeah, that.
Seriously.
Like, I mean, stuff like that, where it's like, just 10 minutes, hold this wattage, go.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, I can imagine that's what it
I
takes.
actually thought my bike was like broken.
So we've had a couple where like. Well, what was the one we did here? Oh my god! So we did. How long was the interval?
It was like, wait, was this with the road?
It was like a
and the
couple
ski?
thousand meters on the bike, at like an insane pace. It's like and hold on, right into like a run or a lift. I forget what. It doesn't matter. And Tia's on for her first, which like because we only have one bike in the garage, so she would go. And as soon as she's done, we were just alternating. And she's going, and I made like just a smart ass joke of like, oh Tia, that pace is cute. And then Shane kind of like perks up, looks, and the fight that occurred of just like
I got off mid exercise.
It was like going back and forth like, Tia, that's not your pace. Go faster. She's like, I am going. And he's like, that's not like that pace. Like, you're clearly not trying. And it like so back and forth.
Like, what
and
he
what
said
was it
was
like 300 or 400 meters in? She just gets off, and then
I just walk out. I was
she just walks out.
Done. And then I actually don't walk out. Like I walk and then turn around, come back, I sit on the thing, and like I'm like sulking, and I'm like, Matt, you go. And then Matt jumps on, gets his thing on, and then and I'm like thinking in my head like, oh man, I'm gonna have to do this, so I might as well do it now. But like I wanted them to just shut up and leave me alone so that I could just get my first like sprint out, okay? But what Shane just said, he was like, Tia, if we wanted to waste our time, we would just just talk. What are you doing? You're wasting time. And when he's like that, oh no. Mm-mm.
So the first this is within the first week of us training together. So the three of us are still like very PG with each other, like just feeling each other out. Like
these two are having like a spat. Like
we don't know each other's personalities
is a nice way of putting
anything. And so Tia was doing her own work and I was doing my own, and then the two of them got into it. Like Shane said something of like, "Hey Tia, like solid block out of the top."
He was no repping me. I was like, "This is a rep."
Yeah. So Shane was like, "T, no rep."
Toomey was in the garage.
No.
No.
And Shane was like, Tia, like
He turned the clock off on me.
because he was like, Tia,
Mid-workout.
like so she didn't acknowledge the no rep. Shane was like, no, like if your ref gives you a no rep in competition, you don't get to move on to the next station. And Tia was like, that was a good rep. I'm going to the next station. And Shane's like, no, you're not done. And so he kept. So every time she would do like an overhead squat or snap, whatever it was, he'd be like, no rep, no rep, no. Dude, these two like got into it. I get home from training, and Sammy's like, hey sweetheart, how was training? I was like, Tia and Shane are getting a divorce. Like, I just witnessed it. Like, they've been in the States for a week and they're splitting up. Like, what do I do? And then like I meet back up with them like 2 hours later to do another training session. Perfectly fine. I was like if Sammy and I had an argument like that, it's like, nope, not happening.
Takes me like a couple minutes to cool down.
So now when this happens,
He's like probing it.
He's like, go.
Yeah.
I had one where she was doing muscle ups and Shane was like, no rep, and in the middle of muscle ups, Tia's like, that was good. And then Shane looks at me and goes like, no rep. And then I'm on the other side of the gym like, Tia, that's no good. And we just pile on her, make a game out of it.
Like in my head, I'm like, these mother effers. But then I'm also thinking like,
yeah, that's what she said.
That's what she thinks in her head too. Yeah. That's awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the reminiscing. Very fun. I imagine you guys have some training to get to. So thanks, guys. 3-way fist bump.
Yeah.
Boom.
Boom. It's perfect.